The outer mining outpost of Epsilon 9 was a lonely place. Dust storms howled across the metal domes and silence hung heavy between the long nights. Only the humming of the life support generators broke the stillness. Inside a narrow control room, a human engineer named Orion Vale sat half asleep beside a flickering screen.
He had been listening to empty static for weeks, scanning frequencies that no one cared about anymore. He wasn't supposed to listen for voices.
His job was to maintain the mining drones and repair oxygen valves. But sometimes, when the moons aligned and the winds went quiet, he turned the long-range receiver toward the edge of known space just in case anything called back. That night something did. A soft whisper, fragile as a breath, slipped through the static. It wasn't the usual radio noise, it was a voice. Orion sat upright, heart pounding. "This is Outpost Epsilon 9 Human Station," he said into the mic. "Identify yourself." No answer, just another burst of static. Then faintly, a few trembling words. "Is someone there?" Her voice was gentle, melodic, but filled with exhaustion. Orion froze. A real signal, an intelligent one, from somewhere light years away. He leaned closer. Yes, I hear you. This is Orion Vale, human engineer." "Who are you?" For a long time there was only silence. Then she spoke again, slower this time, as if speaking hurt. "My name is Clara. I didn't think anyone would answer." The way she said it, so honest, so fragile, made something tighten inside him. He could almost picture her sitting alone, surrounded by darkness, her voice reaching out through the cold of space, hoping someone was listening. "Where are you, Lyra?" he asked. "I don't know anymore," she whispered. "My planet. It's dying. The others are gone. The air is thin. I send signals to remember I still exist." The static grew louder, swallowing her words. Orion adjusted the dials, desperate to hold on to her signal. "Don't stop transmitting," he said. "I'll keep listening." For hours they spoke, slowly, carefully, across the infinite distance. She told him her people once lived in glowing cities under crystal skies. But war came and shattered their world. She was a scientist left behind when the evacuation ships failed to return. Now she lived in the remains of a laboratory surrounded by silence and ghosts. Orion didn't interrupt. He just listened. His throat tightened as her voice cracked mid-sentence, then steadied again. "I don't know why I keep talking," Lyra said softly. "Maybe because silence feels like dying." He wanted to say something comforting, but all he managed was a whisper. "Then don't be silent. I'll stay with you." It was past midnight on Epsilon 9 when her laughter, light, trembling, floated through the speakers. "Do humans always talk to strangers across dead stars?" she teased. Orion smiled faintly. "Only the lonely ones." And in that small, flickering control room, surrounded by cold metal walls and endless static, the universe suddenly felt a little less empty. Hours passed like minutes. She described the faint glow of her sky, the taste of the last fruit from her planet, the sound of the wind moving through empty cities. Orion could almost see it through her words. When she spoke of her lost friends, her voice broke, and he wished more than anything that he could reach through space and hold her hand. At dawn, her signal began to fade. "I have to shut down the transmitter," Lyra murmured. "The energy cells are weak." "Wait, don't go yet," Orion said quickly. "I can help you. Maybe I can calculate a jump route or send—" "It's too far," she said gently. "Light itself takes years to reach you. But knowing someone heard me even once, that's enough." He couldn't accept that. "No, you can't give up now. Promise me you'll try again tomorrow." Silence. Then finally her soft reply, "All right, tomorrow, if I'm still here." The transmission ended. Orion sat staring at the quiet screen, his reflection dim and tired. Outside, the sun rose over the barren moon, painting the metal domes in orange light. But he didn't notice. All he could hear in his mind was her fading voice repeating his name, Orion. Like a dream he couldn't let go. He spent the next day repairing the long-range array, adjusting every frequency, every coil, desperate to strengthen the connection. The other workers mocked him for chasing ghosts, but he didn't care. Somewhere out there, a girl named Lyra was still alive, waiting for someone to answer. And he would answer, no matter how far the stars were. When night fell again, he sat in the same chair, headphones pressed tight, whispering into the void. "Lyra, it's me. I'm here." For a moment, nothing came. Then through the static, faint but clear, came her voice, smiling through exhaustion. I knew you would be. The words echoed softly in the control room, fragile and eternal. And as Orion listened to that distant, beautiful voice, something inside him changed. He didn't know what love across light years meant, but he was beginning to understand it. The next night came slowly. On Epsilon 9, the sky was full of dust and silence, but inside the communication chamber, Orion waited with restless eyes fixed on the monitor. His hand hovered over the receiver switch as if afraid the signal would never come again. Then, static, a faint hum, and her voice. "Hello, Orion." He smiled for the first time in days. "You kept your promise." "I always keep promises," she said softly. "Especially when someone is listening." Her voice sounded a little clearer this time. Orion had retuned the array and diverted extra power from his oxygen recycler just to boost the signal strength. It was dangerous, but he didn't care. Hearing her again was worth every risk. "What's it like there tonight?" he asked. She hesitated, then said, "Cold. My world used to be bright. Green fields, rivers that shimmered like glass. Now the air smells like rust and the sun is dim, but I still sit near the observatory window. I can see a single star glowing in the west. I think it's yours." He looked out through his dome's viewport at the endless darkness. Billions of stars shimmered, but he didn't know which one was hers. "Then maybe we're looking at each other right now," he said softly. Lyra laughed, quiet and gentle. "Maybe." Two tiny dots in the sky pretending we're close. They talked for hours again. Not about data or coordinates this time, but about themselves. Orion told her about growing up in the shipyards of Titan, about how space engineers were trained to fix machines but never hearts. She told him about her planet's sky festivals, where glowing creatures dance through the air like ribbons of light. "Do humans dance?" she asked curiously. "Not as beautifully as you describe," he said with a grin. "We just sway and hope we don't look stupid." She laughed again. The kind of laughter that warms cold rooms. He could almost feel her there beside him, sitting under alien stars, smiling at the thought of a clumsy human trying to dance. As days turned into weeks, their conversations became a ritual. Every night when his shift ended, Orion sat at his console waiting for her voice. They spoke of small things, music, stories, dreams. He played her old Earth melodies and she hummed along, her voice blending with static like a fragile lullaby carried by the stars. "You humans put so much emotion in sound," Lyra said once. "Even sadness feels alive." "Maybe that's the only way we survive it," he replied quietly. He never saw her face, but he could imagine her eyes glowing with distant light, her smile faint but real. He didn't need an image. Her voice was enough. One evening she told him about her people. "We believed every star held a soul," she said. "When someone died, we said their light joined the sky. When I look up now, I wonder how many of my friends are watching me back." Orion didn't know what to say. The silence stretched long, filled only by the hum of the receiver. Then he whispered, "Maybe one of those stars is you someday, but not yet. Not while I can still hear your voice." Lyra's reply came soft, trembling. "Then you'll keep me alive a little longer." That night he didn't sleep. He sat by the console, replaying their words, memorizing every tone, every breath. Something deep inside him shifted, a longing he couldn't explain. He wasn't supposed to feel this way. She wasn't human, and she was galaxies away. But every word she spoke reached him like light through a crack in the dark. He began keeping a small notebook. In it, he wrote her phrases, her laughter, her strange alien proverbs. On one page he scribbled, "She calls stars souls. Maybe she's right." Weeks later, her signal started breaking up again. "Your voice is fading," he said. "The storms are growing," she replied faintly. "Radiation interferes with transmission. But don't worry, I'll find a way." "I always do." He heard the effort in her tone, the fatigue she tried to hide. "You should rest, Lyra." "Rest is for the saved," she murmured. "I'm not there yet." Then softer, "Orion, do humans ever feel like they've known someone forever even without meeting?" He took a deep breath. "Yes," he said. "I feel that now." She didn't answer for a moment. Then, almost whispering, "Me too." A shiver went through him, not of fear but of connection so deep it hurt. That night, the storm on her planet worsened. The signal flickered, breaking mid-sentence, and he shouted into the void, "Lyra, stay with me." Static swallowed his words. For a full minute, there was only white noise, then barely audible. I'm still here, I just wanted to hear your voice again before the storm hits. He clenched his fists. You'll survive. I'll help you. We'll find a way, she sighed gently. You sound so certain. Humans always do. That's what I love about you. Her last word lingered in the air, love. He froze, his breath caught. She hadn't meant it, maybe. Or maybe she had. He couldn't ask. The signal faded again. He stayed there long after her voice was gone, staring at the receiver, his heart echoing with a word he wasn't supposed to feel. Outside, meteors crossed the sky, brief and beautiful. Inside, Orion whispered to the dark, Lyra, I think I love you too. The stars gave no answer, but somehow he felt she heard. The following days felt longer than whole seasons. Orion spent every waking moment in the communications chamber, fine-tuning the receiver and boosting the antenna gain. He barely ate, barely slept. Every beep from the console made his heart jump, hoping, praying for her voice. But silence stretched across the stars. Then, after what felt like a lifetime, a faint whisper returned. Orion. He almost fell out of his chair. Lyra, you're alive. A soft laugh answered, weak but real. Barely, the storms damaged everything. Half the colony dome collapsed. I've sealed myself in the observatory, but the air is thin. He gripped the microphone, panic rising in his chest. You need help. I can get the fleet to send a rescue ship. Just give me your coordinates. Her breathing grew rough through the static. I already sent them last time. Did you not receive? Orion opened the transmission logs. There they were. A long string of numbers, coordinates written in alien symbols. He quickly ran them through the translation module. His eyes widened as the results appeared. The distance was staggering. Her planet lay on the far edge of the Perseus arm, 12,000 light-years away. If he sent a rescue request through normal channels, it would take decades, centuries even, before a ship reached her. But he couldn't tell her that. I'll try again, he said, forcing calm into his voice. We'll find a way, Lyra chuckled weakly. Always the brave human. You talk as if you could fly across the galaxy yourself. He looked around at the small mining base, the empty hangars, the silent sky outside. Then quietly, maybe I will. She didn't answer at first. Then softly, if you do, I'll wait. After that night, Orion's purpose changed. He was no longer just a lonely engineer on a forgotten outpost. He was a man trying to reach the only voice that made the universe feel alive. He spent his shifts collecting spare reactor cores, old hull plates, and flight thrusters from decommissioned drones. His colleagues thought he had gone mad. Maybe he had. Every time he spoke with Lyra, she sounded weaker. The light here is fading, she said once. When I look outside, the clouds glow red. I think the planet is dying. He clenched his fists. Then hold on a little longer. I'm coming for you. She laughed softly, the sound filled with both warmth and sorrow. You can't cross time itself, Orion. He stared at the star map glowing above his console. Maybe I can bend it. Weeks passed. The mining outpost grew quieter. Shipments stopped. The company recalled its workers to safer zones, but Orion refused to leave. He told the supervisors his comm station needed calibration. But the truth was simple, he couldn't abandon her. At night, he continued building a makeshift vessel out of scrap, an ugly thing of metal wings and worn engines. He named it the Lyra. Every hour he worked, he played her recordings on loop. Her laughter, her songs, her small stories about alien sunsets. It made the silence bearable. Then one night, her signal came again. Faint, broken, but there. Orion, are you there? I'm here, he whispered. Always, her voice trembled. I dreamed you stood beside me. I couldn't see your face, but I knew it was you. You were holding the sky open. He swallowed hard. Maybe that dream was real, just waiting for us to catch up to it. Silence followed. Then she said something that froze him. The core reactor of my observatory. It will fail soon. When it does, the transmitter dies. I might not be able to call you again. No, Orion said sharply. You'll fix it. I'll guide you. It's no use. The air pressure is dropping. I just wanted to tell you, thank you. He felt something break inside. Don't say goodbye. Don't you dare. Her tone softened like a fading echo. I'm not saying goodbye. I'm saying, I hope you see my star one day. Then the signal vanished. For 3 days, Orion didn't move. He sat by the console, staring at the silent screen. The whole base could have crumbled around him and he wouldn't have noticed. When the next transmission came, it was only a short burst of data, a partial log. Lyra's voice recorded between static bursts. If anyone finds this, the light is so beautiful tonight. I wish he could see it. After that, nothing. Orion stood slowly. He walked to the small ship he had built, unfinished, untested. It didn't matter anymore. He looked up at the stars through the dome. Somewhere out there was her dying world. Somewhere was the voice that had made him feel human again. He set the coordinates. The engines roared to life. His hands trembled, but his heart was steady. If time can't bring us together, he whispered, then I'll chase eternity until it does. And with a thunderous flash, the ship rose from the moon's surface, vanishing into the endless dark. Far away, in a collapsing observatory on a dying planet, a single light flickered on a console. The receiver crackled for a moment, then a faint human voice broke through. Lyra, I'm coming. The alien girl smiled through tears she could no longer feel. Then hurry, she whispered to the stars, before the light goes out. The ship named Lyra cut through the void like a spark lost in an ocean of darkness. Inside, Orion sat strapped in the pilot's seat, surrounded by humming wires and flickering lights. He had no navigation AI, no backup crew. Only a few recorded messages from the girl whose voice had once filled his nights. Every few hours he replayed her last log. The light is so beautiful tonight. It was the last trace of her existence, the last warmth he had left. He had no way of knowing how much time had passed since her final transmission. His ship moved faster than any mining vessel ever had, powered by unstable drives and the stolen dreams of a desperate man. For days he saw nothing but empty stars. No messages, no signal. Only silence, yet still he spoke into the comms each night, his voice echoing through static. Lyra, it's me. I'm getting closer. I know you can hear me. But only the hum of space answered back. He began to lose track of time. Sleep came in fragments. Sometimes he dreamed of her voice whispering his name. Sometimes he woke up gasping, afraid the silence had swallowed her forever. Then, one day, the scanners blinked. Habitable zone detected. Planet unidentified. His hands trembled as the pale sphere appeared on his viewport, a world wrapped in violet clouds and crimson storms. Her world. He could feel it. Even before the systems confirmed, he knew. Something inside his chest recognized it, the way you recognize the sound of someone's voice in a crowd. He guided the ship through the stormy atmosphere. Lightning arced across the hull, shaking the vessel violently. The planet's air was thick, toxic, but he didn't care. He only cared about one thing, finding her. When he finally broke through the clouds, the surface appeared below, shattered domes, twisted towers, and long shadows cast by dying suns. A graveyard world. He landed near a half-collapsed structure, the observatory, just as she had described. The door groaned as he pushed it open. The air inside was stale and thin, and the floor was covered in dust and glass. But the console still stood in the center, cracked but faintly glowing. He stumbled forward, every breath a struggle. His heart pounded so hard it hurt. Lyra, he shouted. His voice echoed through the empty halls. Lyra, it's me. Orion, no answer. Only wind slipping through broken walls. He knelt by the transmitter, his shaking hands brushing over the surface. The panel flickered weakly, reacting to his touch. Then, a faint sound, static, and beneath it, her voice. Orion, I'm still here. He froze, tears filling his eyes. But the words were wrong. There was no pattern of speech, no pauses, no emotion. The voice repeated again, perfectly identical. Orion, I'm still here. It was a recording. He pressed the replay button. The same words again, and again, and again. Each time the same tone, the same heartbreak frozen in time. The console beeped weakly, its power fading. He fell to his knees beside it, whispering, You really kept your promise, even after everything. His fingers brushed over the dusty surface, and he saw something written there, etched into the metal with trembling hands. If you come, I will be waiting among the stars. He looked up through the cracked glass dome. The sky above was filled with swirling colors, red clouds glowing with lightning, and far beyond the endless night of space. He imagined her there, standing under that same sky, looking toward him with those unseen eyes full of hope. He stayed by the console for hours, maybe days, he didn't count. He fixed what he could, restored power cells, rebuilt a signal relay, but the truth never changed. The transmitter was decades old. She was long gone, still he couldn't leave. Every night he played her voice. "Orion, I'm still here." He began speaking back, his tone quiet but sure. "I know, Lyra, and I'll keep answering." Even when the storm outside grew louder, even when the air grew too thin to breathe, he stayed. Because leaving meant admitting the silence had won, and he couldn't do that. Finally, when his oxygen warning turned red, he stood by the dome's broken window and looked up one last time. A bright blue star shimmered in the horizon, cutting through the clouds. He smiled faintly. "You found a way to shine, didn't you?" He sat down beside the console, leaning back against the wall. The light flickered across his face as the storm quieted outside. With his last strength, he reached toward the transmitter and pressed the send button one final time. "Lyra, I came." The signal burst through the atmosphere, carrying his final message into the void. And somewhere, across the silent expanse of stars, another signal blinked faintly in response. An echo, ancient but alive. For one brief moment, the silence answered. The wreck of Lyra was found many years later. A patrol vessel from the Galactic Survey passed near an unnamed planet on the edge of the Perseus Arm. The world was lifeless, no atmosphere fit for breathing, no sign of cities, only the skeletons of alien towers reaching into red clouds. Inside one broken observatory, the search team discovered a small human craft, rusted and half buried in dust. Beside it, a transmitter still blinked faintly, powered by a single surviving cell, and on its surface, etched by hand, were 4 words: "I came for you." The log data they recovered contained hours upon hours of recordings. 2 voices, one human and one alien, talking about the stars, about loneliness, about the meaning of love. The technicians fell silent as they listened. Some even cried. The name of the man was Orion Vale, the voice of the woman. Lyra, scientist of a world long gone. Their story spread through every colony and outpost that received the transmission. On Titan, young engineers whispered about the man who crossed 12,000 light-years for a voice. On Vora Prime, alien students studied the signal to understand what humans called hope. And in the quiet corners of space where miners and travelers drifted alone, people tuned their receivers to the old frequency, listening to the fragments that still floated in the static. Sometimes, on calm nights, they swore they could hear her laugh. Other times, a faint male voice whispering, "Lyra, I'm here." Decades later, a memorial was built on the moon, 2 statues standing side by side under a glass dome. One human, one alien, both looking toward the same patch of sky. Below them was a plaque that read, "They never met, but their voices touched eternity." A small beacon beneath the monument played their final transmissions in endless loop. Tourists came, but most stood quietly, afraid to speak because the story didn't need words. Far beyond that monument, on the edge of known space, something strange began to happen. Exploration probes near the old planet detected a repeating signal, weak, rhythmic, not from any human beacon. When decoded, it carried only a simple sequence, or Lyra, Orion, Lyra, Orion. No one could explain it. Some said it was just interference, an echo trapped in ion storms. Others believed something else, that the 2 voices had merged into light itself, forever calling to each other across the stars. Scientists dismissed it, but travelers believed. They began to call the phenomenon the Lover's Pulse. And when new ships passed through that region, they dimmed their lights for a moment out of respect. 1 century after his death, a young pilot named Mira found herself stationed on a lonely moon base, Epsilon 9, rebuilt for mining again. One night, while repairing the comms array, she caught a faint frequency buried under static. A voice. Soft. Human. Familiar. "Hello? Is someone there?" She frowned. "This is Outpost Epsilon 9, human station. Identify yourself." After a long pause, the same voice replied, fragile but warm. I didn't think anyone would answer. Mira smiled slowly. "You're coming in weak, but I hear you." "What's your name?" "Lyra." For a heartbeat, Mira froze. Then the signal cut. She checked the logs, the data, the transmission source. Nothing. No coordinates, no record, just a faint echo that disappeared into space. Still, she couldn't stop thinking about it. She replayed it every night. the single word that had somehow traveled across centuries. Back on Earth at the Moon Memorial, the plaque gleamed beneath starlight. A child stood there holding her father's hand. "Papa," she asked. "Did they really love each other?" The man smiled softly. "They never met, sweetheart. But love isn't about meeting. It's about hearing someone in the dark and choosing to listen." The girl looked up at the statues and whispered, "Then maybe they can hear us too, and somewhere, impossibly far away." Deep within the whispering noise between galaxies, a tiny frequency answered. Two pulses of light beating together, fading slowly but never dying. Long after humanity spread beyond the stars, explorers still told the story of the voice across the stars, the story of a man who followed a signal and a woman who refused to be forgotten. They said that when the universe finally grows cold and the last suns go dark, those two voices will still echo through the void. One saying, "I came," the other replying, "I knew you would." Because love, even when it cannot meet, still travels farther than light. End of story. The Voice Across the Stars.